Hello, everybody. I promised to be here in about 30 minutes. I think I spent a little bit more than 30 minutes. So, my discussion today is going to be about this book, The Obstacle in the Way, The Timeless Art of Turning Trials into Triumph. This book is a very good read. It's very interesting. I'm going to share a little bit of the lessons I got from this book. However, if you can lay your hands on it, grab this book. Grab this book. It's very interesting. Um, I say this all the time that it is not about the situation, but how we handle the situation. So, this book has referenced people who have become really successful, who are great people, but who have turned obstacle in their way to greatness. They were able to alter their bad situation, turn it around and make it good. So we are made in such a way that no matter how smart you are, you're gonna face tribulations. You can't be smarter than your tribulations. So what can you do is to know how to have the skills to turn the tribulations around for your own good. So if you have the opportunity, grab this book and read it. However, I have come up with a little bit digest summary of the book that I'm going to share. So if you find this program interesting, please share it. Uh, it might benefit someone if you do that. So I'm going to delve in and start moving. So it took me a while to write out the digest. Um, the author is Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday. So I hope this is not going to take me more than 30 minutes to discuss. However, at any point in time, if I have anybody interested in joining in, I am open to dialogue. However, I'm going to do this and I have about 30 minutes to start and end this discussion around the obstacle in the way. Let's go there. The author talked about the discipline of perception. The discipline of perception. Great authors, great philosophers have made it known to us that uh, there's no way two people are going to have the same experience and interpret the experience the same way, which means an experience is based on our perception of that experience. Um, Another person that's running could determine to perceive running as an exercise, while someone else could perceive running as suffering because he didn't want to run. He is forced to run because of one thing or the other. So the same experience, different perception. So this writer analyzed that discipline of perception is important. What does that mean? It means we should discipline our thoughts in a way that we interpret events in ways that will favor us. We should discipline our thinking in such a way that our interpretation of our experience would help us instead of uh, condemning us. For example, if you have a divorce, you have the choice to interpret that divorce to mean the ability to find somebody better than the person you had. And you might as well interpret the divorce as the end of your life. You have that choice of interpretation of your experience. So that is the discipline of perception. And the writer said, and I quote, an objective mind which can resist temptation or excitement, no matter how seductive, no matter the situation, can succeed. Anybody who can resist temptation and excitement. If you can be disciplined enough that you cannot be tempted and you cannot be overexcited, you can succeed. Uh, what this means is that as we lead our life, we face temptations all the time. For example, drinking pop, soft drink, that's sugar. It's sweet. It's tempting. You want to have a drink, but you know that the consequence of having a lot of sugar in your body is not good. So if you can be able to resist the temptation of drinking something sweet and not drink it, resist it and not drink it, the same principle you can apply in spending your money. The same principle you can apply in saving money. The same principle you can apply in humanizing. The same principle you can apply in several other things, in reading, in working, in adhering to principles that will move you forward in life. So if anybody can resist temptation and seduction, that person can succeed because it takes as much discipline to succeed as to resist the good things of life. That is why it is a lot more difficult to stay in school than to go to club. It is a lot easier to go to club. That is fun. You want to continue to do it. You want to continue to spend your money. It is more difficult to save money than to spend money. But if you can resist the discipline, if you can resist the temptation of overspending your money, all you need to do is apply the same principles to other part of your life that will be progressive. So that's one of the quote from that book. And the writer also said, success is the product of perception of our environment. Uh, he claims that to be successful, you must perceive yourself and your environment. You must interpret your experience in ways that will make you successful. Without doing that, nobody can succeed. You must perceive your experience. You must perceive your environment in ways that will result to your success. Because we are faced with obstacles every day. We are faced with too much problems. But what makes the difference is how we perceive and interpret the experience. Uh, everybody have peculiar experiences, but the power that individuals have is the power to interpret their experience in ways that are going to favor them. So if anybody is taking anything away from you, they cannot take your thinking away. They can't take your thinking away from you. That's your property. They can punish you, they can indoctrinate you, they can curtail your movement, they can do everything to you, but they cannot take what you think and how you interpret your experience. They can't take it away from you. That is why we have had in history of people who are facing death and they are facing death happily. We have had history of people who are facing tribulations and instead of being depressed, unhappy, sad, they are facing it with happiness because they have chosen to interpret that experience positively. So everybody has that power, but most of the time we fail to use it. So I'll go ahead. Discipline in perception lets you clearly see the disadvantage and proper course of action in every situation. If you discipline your perception, if you retrain your emotion, you're going to have clarity of purpose. You see things a lot more clearly than if your thinking and your emotion is clouded and undisciplined. In layman term, this means that if you can always be objective in your thoughts, you will always find solutions to your problem. If you can always be objective, you will always find solutions to your problem. Objectivity is what makes your emotion not cloud your thinking. So that's what the writer meant by that sentence. Another part is recognize your power. The writer said, recognize your power. Uh, there have been so many philosophical sayings about how powerful we are and how much we do not use our power. Um, there could be societal reasons, there could be religious reasons, there could be personal reasons. Even some parents have succeeded in bringing up children who do not recognize their power. So we most of the time think that we are powerless. However, despite the happenings around us, despite the uncertainties around us, we still have our own power, which is the power of our mind. Uh, you can decide that let people go where they want to go. I'm not going there because that direction does not lead to my success. You can do that, but you have to know and be confident in yourself. That is why I have this saying that make sure that whatever you do is a product of your own decision. You can seek advice from people, but at the end of the day, make sure that what you're doing is what you have decided to do. So that if you gain the reward from that action, the rewards are yours. But if you fail, you are responsible for your failure. You will learn one lesson or the other and move on. So 50 Cent said, we must be smart enough to understand that life is learn as you go. We must be smart to understand that we continue to learn. However, systemic learning is a lot more helpful than random learning. Systemic learning is what we're doing now. This is systemic. This is a book that somebody has written that I read and I've chosen to share with people. That is systemic. You can program your life in such a way that you continue to learn. You learn a lot more than sporadic and random learning. A lot of people have this immunization strategy to learning. When they finish school, they believe they have learned everything there is to learn and they stop learning. They stop active learning. I'm very sorry, it's hard to go very far when you're not actively learning. But if you're actively learning, you're taking knowledge from thousands of people and you're using this knowledge to advance your own life. There's no way anybody can stop you if you lead your life like that. So part of that is what I am doing here, sharing a little bit of knowledge that I gained from this book, The Obstacle in the Way. It cost me about $10, but the knowledge in it is over thousands of dollars if I apply that knowledge. So the writer says, recognize your power. And I'm going to quote this. We decide what we will make of each and every situation. We decide whether we will break or wither or we will resist. We decide whether we'll assent or reject. No one can force us to give up or to believe something that is untrue. Our perceptions are the things we are in complete control of. This is in line with all I have been saying. We decide what we will make of each and every situation. However, I believe that we have to be told that we have that power because for most of us, our environment, our religion, our tradition have taken away that power from us right from growing up. So we have to relearn that we have power over our situations. So the writer says we decide what we will make of each and every situation. The conclusion of any situation lie on us. However, we interpret what is happening is our responsibility. This is what he's talking about. Just like I mentioned earlier, that two people with the same experience cannot interpret the experience the same way. We can watch the same movie, but we cannot have the same feelings from the movies. So the feelings, the interpretation I gave the movie are within my power. Your interpretation are within your power. So a reasonable person would interpret a situation in a way that's going to lead him to happiness and to achieving his goals. That's what this writer is talking about. We decide whether we will break or resist, which means we can decide to follow or unfollow anybody we want. We decide whether to accept something or to reject it. Somebody can tell us things, somebody can tell us about someone. Accepting the statement as true or false is our decision. Our perceptions are the thing we are in complete control of. I don't know how to yell this. Most of the time, uh, when I say this, eh, I meet resistance from people who have always been told that they don't have a choice in what happens to them. It's quite unfortunate because I used to be like that too. I used to be like that. That is how most of us grew up. We grew up with the understanding that our life has been predestined and we don't have any say. Even though the practicality of how we live our life is indicative of us having say in our life. We want to eat eba, gari. We boil water. We put gari in it. Eba is ready. Food is ready. Soup is ready. We have decided what we want to eat and we are eating what we want to eat. And this happens to us most of the time in our life. It is my decision that I want to put on this shirt. However, when it comes to vital matters of our life, from our marriage to our income to our savings, so very important matters, they told us we have no control over that. That to me is an injustice. That is injustice. We should be told that the same way we had authority over what we eat is how we have authority over other important matters of our life. We have authority over how much money we save. We have authority over how much money we spend. We have authority over many things, over our temptations. You can decide to be to be fidel with your wife. You can decide to be infidel. You have that authority to be disciplined. So when our culture continues to tells us that we can't do this, we can't do that, I think that's just gonna reduce our our potential. That's gonna reduce our life potential. Even though we don't have control over everything, but there are basic things that we have control over. So we should be taught those things and leave other things that we don't have control to God. Whatever thing we have control over, we should control it. And I always make reference to this pastor who was passing by a well-maintained farm, very clean farm. Uh, and while he was passing by, he saw the farmer and he told him, "Oh, God has really blessed you with a beautiful farm." And the farmer paused and replied him, You need to see this when it belonged to God alone. I mean, when my farm wasn't mine and it was God's alone, you need to see this at that time because it was bush. When the farm belonged to only God, it was bush. When it belonged to myself and God, that was when I planted flower. That was what I planted crops in it, which means we have to monitor, observe our behavior, observe and stay disciplined in order to get results. Leaving your matter to God alone, I'm sorry, because God is not going to control you. He has given you the choices to think, unthink, learn, unlearn, and do. So the people who don't have the ability to reason, uh, people who are, say, mentally disabled, we can excuse them. But majority of us, we can, with the right knowledge, we can control our perception. That is what this writer, Arian, is emphasizing here. That we decide what we will make of each and every situation. It is our decision. We decide whether we will break or whether we'll resist. That is our decision. So our perception are the thing we are in complete control of. I like that a lot because I am still in the process of training myself to always see opportunity in every difficulty. I have used that in the past to my favor, you know, actively thinking that the negative thing that's happening to me, there's an opportunity in it. So, and it has worked. I'm not going to say it in the open if I never tried it, but it has worked. It continues to work. It has worked for for conscious people. When there's a trouble, when there's a tribulation, when there's a problem, there's something lurking in it. There's an opportunity in it that if you continue to stay disturbed, you're going to miss that opportunity. If you continue to stay worried, you're going to miss the opportunity. But if you can stay calm and collected and think for yourself instead of the situation thinking for you, if you can respond instead of react, you're going to find that there's this opportunity that you can benefit from. So the writer continues to say that when we are facing difficult times, the natural response, the natural reaction is for us to be senseless. That is why people who are angry, who are very emotional, that's why they make senseless decisions. Because that is very rational. Because the emotional part of us is what's going to kick in. The rational part is going to subside. So what we should do is to stay poised, stay calm and collected. When we stay calm and collected, that is where we can use the skills that we already learned before the tribulation time. That is when we can think about that locking opportunity in that situation. So when problems happen, everybody faces a problem. It's just a matter of gratitude, of magnitude. I mean to say, it's a matter of different magnitude. There's this Yoruba saying that bori timo, bí orí ti mọ ni fìlà mọ, yeah, bori timo ni orí fífọ́ mọ, which means that your headache cannot be bigger than your head, and your cap should not be bigger than your head. What that implies is that a big man has a big problem. There's no small man, but I'm just going to borrow the phrase. I don't believe there's a small man, but a small man has a small problem. Um, Someone who is occupying a room can only be evicted from a room. A person occupying a house or who owns a house and is facing eviction is going to be evicted from the house. And we understand that a house has many rooms. So you can continue to look at people and thinking that they have made it, they are successful. The higher they go, the bigger the problem they face. However, successful people are people who have mastered solving problems. So because of the way we are naturally wired, we are wired to solve problems. So once we are able to solve one small problem, we are looking for a bigger one. Once we solve one small problem, we are looking for a bigger problem. We solve that, we are looking for another bigger problem. That is how we are wired. That is why people die when they have no problems to solve. So to think that because someone is successful, they don't have problem, that's not true. Just that they don't call their challenges problem, they call them challenges. Because somebody that has 1,000 employees is going to may be worried about how to pay his employees. And you that you don't have an employee, that's not part of your own worry. So it's just the difference is the magnitude of the challenges we are facing. So while somebody is facing the challenge of $2,000, another person is facing the challenge of 20,000, another is facing the challenge of 200,000, 2 million, 2 million, and 2 billion. That is how life is. So this writer says, control your emotion. Um, Discussion about how we can control our emotion is beyond the scope of this conversation because that's my field, and I know it's further than just what we can talk about. However, I can give a few hints on how to control emotion if it's not if the problem is not too deep. So one of the ways we can control our emotion is not to decide on that high emotion, be it happiness or sorrow. Don't make a decision when your emotion is very high. When you are very happy, don't make a decision. And when you're very sad, don't make a decision. Delay your decision making because whatever is crowding your judgment would erase over days. So calm down. When you are excited, don't decide. That's what happens to a lot of people who go to a Nigerian party and they spend all their money. At that point in time, they are very excited. It's not as if they have a lot of money, but they can't think. They're excited. The excitement is going to make them spend all their money. We've had history of somebody at a party who was trying to drive home to bring more money, and on his way he died. That's making decision during a high emotion. That's not good. So being calm and collected, being poised is vital. When you're angered, that is not the right time to decide. That's not the right time to decide. When you are very happy, that is also not the right time to decide. Because for employers of labor, when we interview someone and they are very impressive, you know, most of the time we take their personality for skills. We take their impressive personality for their ability to do the job. So after we hire them, we discover that this guy is just a gabber. He can talk, just talk, talk, talk. He can't really do the job because we got moved. We made decisions during a high emotion. So we've got to slow down, slow things down. And when you're pushing me, that's when I'm not gonna make that decision. Because for you to push me, it means there's something in it for you and possibly not for me. So let's resist from making decisions during high emotion, be it positive or negative emotion. Anger, don't decide. Happiness, don't decide. You know, give your thinking clarity. That is something that the writer here has highlighted. And he also says, unhelpful emotion can be destructive. Oh, unhelpful emotion can be destructed using can be destructive using logic. Like I said before, emotion is a very big topic. Uh, you can't, it's a whole topic by itself. However, like I said, don't make emotional decisions when you are, don't make vital decisions when you are very happy and when you are very angry. You are 99.9%, uh, you have 99.9% possibility of being wrong. So that's that. Another important thing here is live in the present moment. Live in the present moment. Too much thinking about the future results in anxiety. Too much thinking about the past results in depression. Anxiety, depression. Living in the moment results in being balanced minded. When you live in the moment, that is where you can value your life. That is where you can value having children. That's where you can value having a shelter over your head. That is where you can value eating lunch. That is where you can value wearing clothes when you live in the moment. But if you are too far futuristic, you have anxiety because there's no way to react now on something that's going to happen in the future. It doesn't connect. You cannot have an appropriate reaction now of something that's going to happen in the future. So when you're too much futuristic, you have a problem. You're going to have anxiety because the complexity of future is too much than a single person can handle. The things that interconnect to become our future is too plenty. So face now, face now, face now. Appreciate that you have clothing on you. Appreciate that you have your shelter. Appreciate that you can eat. Appreciate that you have your eyes. Appreciate that you can go on Facebook. Appreciate those little things in life. And how can you appreciate those? You appreciate that when you are not living too far in the future and you are not living too far in the past. Living in the past results in depression. Too much future results in anxiety. So uh, the last part is think differently. Think differently. And my take on that is would reference this scientific experiment, scientific social experiment that concluded that it takes 5 people to lead. So most of the time, 95 people are going to follow 5% of people to lead. Most of the time, 95% are going to follow the 5% of people. So when you think differently, you are likely to be part of the 5%. So don't follow the crowd. And Al Nightingale said in one of his sayings that when the majority of people are going towards a particular direction, if you go the opposite, you're not going to regret anything in life. Which means most of the time, people are focusing on the way that is easy, not that they are focused on the way that's most rewarding. They are focused on the easy way. So try to think differently. Don't think like the head, because you should not be a part of the head. So, and the last thing is act. uh Make sure that your knowledge leads to more doing and not just more knowing. You can know many things. If you don't act it, if you don't do it, you're just going to remain the same. You're going to remain the same. So knowledge is power only if acted upon. So I hope that this clip, uh, I hope I've been able to pass some important messages in this clip. So that will be the end of my conversation today. And I will be back at another day to do the same thing. I have chosen to do this in English so that it can go further, because when I do it in my mother tongue, the audience is kind of reduced, and I want as many people as possible to benefit from this conversation. So if you think that this conversation is rewarding to you, could you just please do that favor? You don't do me that favor. I don't need that favor, but do somebody else that favor by sharing it, because somebody may need to listen to this to benefit just as you might have benefited one or two things. So at this point in time, I think I have one of my great friends who is online. Let me see if I can add her so that we can have a few minutes of dialogue before I completely show. So, oh, my guest has declined the invitation. I can see another person who is my I don't know if he is willing to join. I think he came a little bit late, so he might not know what the conversation is about. But let me see if I can bring him here. Um, he's a very good friend who I also listen to his program on Facebook, and I learn from him too. I hope he's gonna be available to join in. You know, he's not. Can you please use the richest man in Babylon as an example? Yeah, the richest man in Babylon. I think this comment is from my daughter because I gave her the book to read. So she wanted me to use the book as an example. Yes. Uh, the example from that book is that with by being decisive, we can we can decisive, and by disciplining our perception, we can achieve most things in life. So that's a very vital lesson from the richest man in Babylon. And the man advised that we save 10% of our earnings. So if there's nobody online, I am just going to end this show, and I hope that I will be here another day. Please, if you find this conversation interesting, please share it. Share it, please. And thank you very much for listening. Bye bye for now.